Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. My name is Chef Frank Bookhardt. I'm here at Nash Community College. We're doing a healthy eating series. Today we're going to discuss the diabetic diet, how it relates to people that have type 1, type 2 diabetes and people that maybe don't necessarily have diabetes. Diabetes. More than 29 million Americans have diabetes. 1 in 4 don't know they have it. The previous estimate, this is high, let's see, that's up from the previous estimate of 26 million in 2010. Another 86 million adults in America are pre-diabetic. That means that their blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not high enough to be classified as type 2 diabetes. And without weight loss or moderate physical activity, 15 to 30% of the people with pre-diabetes will develop type 2 diabetes within 5 years. Oop, went the wrong way, sorry guys. What is diabetes? Diabetes is the condition in which the body does not properly process the food to use as energy. Most of the food that we eat turns into glucose or sugar. What happens is that the pancreas, which is located near the stomach, creates insulin. That helps get the glucose into the cells of your body. When the pancreas starts to shut down, the sugar stays in your bloodstream. And that's kind of why you'll hear around here, especially, you'll hear it called the sugar. It can cause serious health complications, heart disease, blindness, kidney failure, lower extremity amputation, and it's the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. And it's a big problem in this area. People diagnosed with diabetes at a young age usually have type 1 diabetes. Anybody that has that is only 5% of the population that is generally has type 1 diabetes. Everybody else falls into type 2. Type 2 is generally a controllable problem. Some pregnant women become diabetic during their term. They will have a slightly higher chance of diabetes down the road, but for most intents and purposes, it's not a big issue as long as they watch their diet and they get a moderate exercise in. Also need to be noted, Hispanics and African Americans have a higher percentage of diabetes than Caucasians. What is the diabetic diet and how does it work? It's a meal plan that has a two-pronged approach. One, you eat a calorie-restrictive diet, and that helps maintain a healthy weight. Secondly, you eat balanced meals that allow breakdown of its components and keep the blood sugar level. How much food can you eat on a diabetic diet? I'll be honest with you, it's a little tough. Generally speaking, people with a diabetic diet place somewhere between 1,500 and 1,800 calories a day. The average human in America goes about 2,000 to 3,300 calories a day. And most of us around here, we go way, way over. But I don't have diabetes. Are you sure? Like I said, 1 in 4 might not even know that they have it. And it's okay if you don't have it, because if your BMI is high, which is your body mass index, and you eat a poor diet, you're headed that way. So what can you do? The diabetic diet will help you control your blood sugar. It's an excellent way to lose weight and maintain good numbers in blood sugar and cholesterol. All right. This is a little example of portion control, like what you should be eating. Your fist as 1 cup. Yes?
Is that Andre the Giant's fist?
You'd hope that, wouldn't you?
Is that the Incredible Hulk fist?
You would hope that, wouldn't you? So you're talking your rice, your fruit, your pastas, your vegetables. You're looking at generally eating something the size of your fist. Your palm would be 3 ounces. That would be your proteins, your meat, your fish, your poultry. A handful would be 1 ounce, nuts and raisins. 2 handfuls, chips, popcorn, and pretzels. How many people eat 2 hands of popcorn, pretzels, or exactly? Your thumb is approximately 1 ounce of cheese. That's what's allowed. And then this is nice. The first digit is your cooking oil, your fats, or your butters. I tell you. But now there's hope. Not all calories are the same. How much is 500 calories? If you take a look here, everything up here is 500 calories. A half-pound beef patty is 500 calories. If you're willing to go that way, half a stick of butter. is 500 calories. 2 Hershey bars would be 500 calories. You could eat 3 medium potatoes, 2 cups of rice, but if you're diabetic, we'll talk about the type of rice that you should probably be eating. 2 cans of corn, or 20 medium carrots, or 72 cups of spinach. So you can actually get a lot of food in your body for a smaller amount of calories. If you can eat 72 cups of spinach in a sitting, I want to see it. I'll put money on it. I don't think it's going to happen. All right. How should your plate look? This is what your plate should look like at all times. You should split your plate right down the middle. On the right side, that would be your vegetables or your complex carbohydrates. Over here on 30% of it would be kind of your fats, and then your 20% would be your proteins. We have this really skewed up. 9 times out of 10, the typical American plate is 50% fats and proteins, all in a big piece of meat. You have a very small serving of vegetables, and you have a side plate for everything else that you're going to eat. Let's talk about some carbohydrates. You want to eat good carbohydrates. You want to eat good fats, and you want to get lean protein in. A good carbohydrate is a whole grain, fruits in some moderation, vegetables, a legume, and a low-fat dairy. You want to eat healthy fats and oils and stay away from processed and saturated fats. You'll hear me say this over and over again. Let's talk a bit about good carbs. Complex carbohydrates have a complicated molecule that breaks down slowly in your bloodstream. What that does is that gives you a steady supply of sugar throughout the day. If you take a piece of white bread, and I know everybody has done this, they've been somewhere where bread is baking and they can smell it and their mouth starts to water. And as soon as you put that warm bread in your mouth, you're just like, oh. That's because that bread is automatically breaking down to sugar in your mouth. And it's just like, a drug. It's automatically hitting you with that glucose and you are so happy. So that's why you got that feeling. Complex carbohydrates, not the same. They don't break down immediately in your mouth. You actually have to get it in your system and it absorbs in your system. Healthy fats. We got good, we got bad. The good is the omega-3, the omega-6, the polyunsaturated, the monounsaturated. Bad would be trans fats, saturated fats, some cholesterols. Most of those you would probably get from animal products. Avocados, excellent choice. Fatty fish, high in omega-3s, high in omega-6s, very good for you. Flax seeds are high in fats, but it's a good fat. Olive oil and almonds as well. Other side, seafood. That's kind of a tricky one. Shellfish kind of fall into the bad fat category. Fish itself, no. Anything that swims really fast is probably going to be decently lean and probably be pretty good for you. Red meat, I think that's a no-brainer there. Fried food, I think once again, you guys know that it can't be good for you. Processed lunch meat. Processed lunch meat, you might go down to the deli and get a turkey sub on whole grain bread. And you might be thinking you're doing yourself good. But if it's a processed luncheon meat, it is loaded with sodium, it's loaded with saturated fats, and it's loaded with nitrates and nitrites. It is not a good choice. And then of course, non-skim dairy products. Non-skim dairy products generally have a lot of sugar in them. I think, I want to say whole milk is probably like up to 13% sugar. It's a lot of sugar in it. And any of the glucose or fructose or lactose, those things, they generally are not what your body needs. If you watch your fats, you can cut down on inflammation. Inflammation is this new term that has come around. Essentially what that is let's say that you cut yourself and your body starts to heal, the area gets red and puffy, this, that, and the other. That's the white blood cells attacking the area, making sure that it's clean. You can have inflammation in your body from what you eat. And what happens is it begins to give you problems like swelling joints, it attacks your organs, and it's generally not good for you. So if you watch the healthy fats, you can cut down on that, and your white blood cells will be happy. Glycemic Index. The glycemic index is a good way to keep up with your carbohydrates. It measures how much a food contains the carbohydrate that raises your blood sugar level compared to the consumption of pure glucose. Pure glucose, eating table sugar. All right, so the table sugar is about 100. American Diabetes Association identifies low GI foods as anything at 55 or less. So you can see it's really, it's over half. Examples of low GI food would be 100% stone ground whole wheat bread, Ezekiel bread, steel cut oatmeal, converted rice, sweet potatoes, non-starchy vegetables, and carrots. Converted rice is interesting. It is a parboiled brown rice that's been soaked and steamed, and it's made to taste and look like white rice. Ezekiel bread is a sprouted grain bread, and Dr. Moorbutter, you get a kick out of this. Something else that's very similar to the Ezekiel bread is our pet project using the spent grain in bread products.
Tell the team about that for just a second if you don't mind.
Not at all. We've been taking the spent grains from the brewing department, and I've been trying to use them in different formulations. I've made granola out of it. I've made some cinnamon raisin bread out of it. I've made dinner rolls, things of that nature. When the spent grain goes through the brewing process, the majority of the sugar is leached out. And what you're left with essentially is pure fiber and pure protein with zero sugar. And it's an excellent complex carbohydrate. It makes darn good bread. And it makes...
I was going to say, Chef, you're being modest because you're not trying to do anything. You're knocking it out. Excellent.
It's good. It is good. I like it. Everybody seems to like it. I'm running out of grain. So we have to work. The brewery department's going to have to step up a little bit. All right. What affects the GI of food? Fat and fiber tend to lower the GI of a food. I know everybody's like fat's bad. Good fats are good. As a general rule, the more cooked or processed the food is, the higher the glycemic index is going to be. I will say this time and time again. You hear it over and over again. Unprocessed food, stay away from white food, and stay away from simple carbohydrates, and you'll be immediately healthy. Or healthier. I won't say healthy, but healthier. Here's a couple of things that can affect the GI of food. The ripeness and storage time of a fruit. A green banana has less sugar in it than a yellow banana. Everybody knows this. That's why you wait till it's yellow to eat it. That will affect the sugar level of the fruit. Processing. Juice has a higher glycemic index in it than the fruit itself. As a general rule, things like that, things that you can eat unprocessed, your body takes longer to digest. And what that is that makes your body actually work harder to extract the nutrients from the food. And this raises your thermogenic index and you burn more calories. So if you were just to drink orange juice, which is actually very high in sugar, it just goes immediately into your body, into your bloodstream, and moves on. But if you were to eat an orange, you're getting the fiber, the water, you're getting the skin, all that thing. And your body has to break that down. And in order to break that down, it has to expend energy to do it. So don't take the easy way out. Cooking method, how long the food is cooked can affect the GI. For instance, a pasta that is to the bite has a lower GI than the soft cooked pasta. And then of course variety. This is where it gets kind of funky. The converted long grain rice has a lower GI than brown rice, but short grain white rice has a higher GI than brown rice. So what? Yes, ma'am.
The converted, are you talking like a Uncle Ben's that says converted?
Yes. Yes.
Is that what you're meaning?
Yes, ma'am. That's
so if I'm using that rice versus say
right.
the basic white rice, that's a better choice.
It is. And what happens is or parboiled. You might see it as parboiled rice a lot of times. What they do is when they cook it, the grains are pressurized and steamed. And what happens is all the vitamins and the minerals from the husk go into the starch granule, and then they take the husk off. So you're left with a higher nutritional value in the rice itself. And I had to learn that.
I think you did a great job.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for. Other considerations you might want to look at. The value represents the type of carbohydrate. Did I go over this? Yes. Type of carbohydrate in the food, but says nothing about the amount of carbohydrates typically eaten. Portion sizes count, especially if you want to maintain your blood sugar level and you are trying to lose or maintain weight. The GI of a food might be different if you eat it alone, unless you combine it with another food. Let me think of a good one that you could do. Okay, beans and rice. Beans have a relatively low glycemic index. Some rice has a higher one. But because you're mixing them together, it's healthier to eat than one or the other alone. Many nutritious foods actually have a higher GI than foods with little nutritional value. For example, oatmeal has a higher GI than chocolate. So you have to kind of use your basic nutrition facts along with the glycemic index. Could you have chocolate for breakfast? Sure. Is it good for you? You know better than that. Your mama raised you right. All right. So should we do the glycemic index or carbohydrate counting? There's no one diet or meal plan that will work for people in the with diabetes. What you have to do is kind of look at it in several different ways. You need to have a meal plan that's tailored to your personal preferences, your lifestyle, and what you're trying to achieve. It shows that the amount and type of carbohydrates that you eat affects your glucose levels. It also shows that the total amount of carbohydrates that you eat do it as well. What I find easier for most people is to start with a carbohydrate counting. Go on a low-carb diet, see how your body responds to that. Once you've done that, then you can start to tailor your glycemic index to see exactly how your blood sugar reacts to the foods that you eat. One of the things that you can do, especially considering that we're having it's a calorie-restricted diet, we can eat more frequent and smaller meals. This allows you to keep your blood sugar stable throughout the day. A regular eating schedule allows your body to know it isn't going to starve and it's not going to miss the calories. Interesting thing, your body is smarter than you will ever be. It cheats and it's super efficient. If it thinks it's hungry, and who here has been just generally hungry in the past 3 weeks? Generally. Okay. When your body thinks it's hungry, it develops a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol tells your body that you are in starvation mode and will actually make you store all of the food you eat as fat. Turns into glucose, the glucose goes directly to fat. So what you can do is eat those small meals throughout the day to keep your blood sugar level and to stay away from that I'm dying feeling. And you gotta be tricky. Like you can do it for a while, and then every once in a while they'll say have a cheat day or have a splurge meal. And the reason being is so that you can reset that clock and do it all over again.
So you're saying splurges are good? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah. In moderation, it's like anything else. In moderation, everything is good. That's right. Weekends seem to go the way, and I could make that argument. If you could be good for 5 days, I think 2 are going to be, because you're going to feel bad about the Friday, or you'll feel bad about Saturday. So Sunday, you'll at least try to get back on track. The verdict is out on whether or not this is ideal for increasing your resting metabolic rate, but once again, it does keep your blood sugar regulated all day, which is going to make you a healthier and happier person. All right, know your numbers. If you don't have diabetes, this is not something that you should really be concerned with, but you should have a good idea of what your blood work looks like anyways, so that you can discuss things with your doctor. Your fasting blood sugar should be between 80 and 130. That number has changed. Generally now, if you land around 100, they say that you may be on a pre-diabetic, on the train to pre-diabetes. 2 hours after meal blood sugar should be less than 180 milligrams. Your blood pressure, everybody should know their blood pressure. 140 over 90, I think that's high. I think it should be lower than that. Your cholesterol, the good cholesterol, you're looking at about 40 milligrams for men, 50 for women, and the triglycerides, which is the bad cholesterol, 150 milligrams. Anything over that, they throw you into high cholesterol. All right, we'll clean up with the eat this, not that. These are a couple of things that you could substitute in your diet that will help you along your way. Bad choices, white potatoes. Once again, stay away from white foods. It's not good for you. All the nutrition has been leached out and it's just a simple sugar or carbohydrate. Cow's milk, that's it. 1% milk, just 1% milk has 13 grams of carbohydrates. Sour cream, that's a no-brainer. It's full of dairy, it's full of fat. Vegetable oils for baking, cream soups, and pork sausages. You could have sweet potatoes, which is really good for people around here because sweet potatoes are all over the place. Almond milk is good. It's only got 2 to 3 grams of carb. It's also lower in calories, and it has no fat. Greek yogurt is an excellent substitute for sour cream. We use it in dips all the time. Nobody knows, nobody cares, and I'm doing it for them, and they're getting happy and healthy. Unsweetened applesauce. You can use that in place of a vegetable oil for baking. It adds a nice flavor to it. It has a good texture to it, and you can save all that fat. Cream soups, you want to go with broth soups, but you got to watch the salt. Once again, Campbell soup, love it, full of salt, it'll kill you. Make your own soup. Make a lot of it, you put it in the fridge, you're good to go. Healthy request, a little bit better, it's still processed. You're going to read chemicals in there, and it's, if the ingredient list is more than 5 things and 3 of them you don't recognize, it's probably not food. It's probably a chemical experiment. So don't, it's not really what you want to be eating. And of course, you could switch over from pork sausage to turkey or chicken sausage. I like turkey sausage. I think it tastes good. You're saving a lot of fat and a lot of cholesterol. That's about all I've got. We're going to talk about what we cooked today. I did what's known as a chocolate icebox pie. This is a low carbohydrate, low sugar, and relatively low fat recipe. Instead of a pie crust, it's actually a crust made out of walnuts, dates, which is relatively high in sugar, and butter. I did modify the recipe a little bit. I took out some of the dates. I added some graham cracker crumbles to it. It helped bind it a little bit better, and it lowered the sugar. I can get you an exact number on that if you want to know, but I have my notes in my office. We used agave nectar instead of sugar itself. Agave nectar is actually sweeter than sugar, so you can end up using less, and it's very low on the glycemic index, and it's diabetic friendly. I used cocoa powder. It's got a little bit of espresso in it because who doesn't need a little kick every now and again? It does have some heavy whipping cream in it, but once again, I was more concerned about the sugar and the carbohydrates than the actual calorie count itself. Any questions? I'm going to take that as a no.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think about substituting honey in place of some of the other sweeteners?
The spent grain bread that we make here, I make exclusively with honey. I think honey is fantastic. I would rather use honey than agave nectar, to be honest with you. There's a conversion rate in recipes. You know, you can't use as much honey as you can use sugar because honey is sweeter than sugar. And then again, same thing with the agave nectar. You have to be careful with which, with the ratios, or you might throw off the recipe a little bit. But I love honey. I think natural raw honey is great for you, and you should use it as much as possible in place of sugar. Anything else?
Do you know of an app that helps you with conversions? Like if your recipe calls for a cup of sugar, a quarter cup of agave nectar or something, do you know of anything that exists like that?
They're out there. I'm not sure of an app, but I have Googled it and I have found it online. There's a chart out there that you can use to convert. I think there's one called, I want to say it's like Baking Secret or something like that. I'd have to look into it. But I've used it several times since I've been playing around with the bread and stuff, and the granola. Like I said, we're trying slowly to convert us. The white sugar, I'm trying to just disappear completely from my diet. And unfortunately, that means if y'all eat my food, you have to have no white sugar too. Was that at Kitchen Hacks?
I just typed in baking hacks.
Oh, okay.
And it came up baking hacks you'll love.
That's about all I have. If you would, please take your time to fill out a brief survey. Let me know if I've met your needs with this meeting. If there's anything that you guys would like to talk about down the road, please feel free to put it on there. Be more than happy to do the research and have y'all come back and have a little snack, and I'll talk about it for you. And that's it. Thank you.